Thank you for listening to our podcast special, Going There. Just before we start this podcast, we at 30-Minute Pipe Bomb would like to state that we do not condone or accept the actions taken by the wrestler we are going to discuss. We believe regardless of any addictions or problems this wrestler was suffering from, there is no justification for anyone to perform such terrible deeds. Our views on this podcast are based solely on his in-ring ability and persona. This is a step back in time, wiping the incident from history if possible, and looking at the possible career and one of, if not, the most naturally talented and highly decorated wrestlers ever to grace the squared circle. He was an almost guaranteed Hall of Famer and a true champion of the sport. Ladies and gentlemen, we give you What If?
Good evening and welcome to our special, Going There, 20th of November 2011. As you may have guessed from the intro music, this is about one wrestler in particular, Chris Benoit. We're going to do a step back in time and we're going to look at what would have happened if that tragic night didn't happen. As we all know, he was booked to fight for one of the main titles, the ECW title against CM Punk that night. And we're going to look at where it would have gone from that match moving forward on his career. So, how would we have seen that particular match in general going?
I think he would have won the title that night. I'm of that opinion.
To clarify the date, sorry, it was June 24, 2007, and it was the Vengeance pay-per-view.
Yeah, I think he would have beat Punk. He won it was a little mini tournament, wasn't it?
Yeah.
To be number one contender to face Punk, and he beat Elijah Burke in what turned out to be his last match.
Yeah.
Decent match as well. I think he would have beat Punk, ran with the ECW title for a while, and then in my mind I think he would have went to SmackDown or Raw without a shadow of a doubt.
Fair enough.
My opinion, he was too good for the new watered down ECW.
The match itself against Punk, I imagine Punk is very talented. That could have been arguably a match of the year, 5-star match.
Definitely.
Both of them are extremely talented. Benoit, we know, was versatile enough to be in any type of match and work it, especially with a good performer like Punk.
I think the whole point of him being better than the ECW title was why he would have won the title.
Yeah.
Because the credibility he would have brought. I don't want to really compare him to the wrestlers, but look at some of the guys that won that title. Mark Henry at the time, Kane,
Ezekiel Jackson.
You know, some really questionable wrestlers. I think Benoit would have really kept that brand going probably longer than it would have, and then, as Mick said, transition back over, because he's the type of guy who could be jerking the curtain or thrown into a world title match because he was that good.
What you'd always got from Benoit was 110%. As cliched as that sounds, I don't recall a bad match that Benoit was in. Even if he was fighting the most limited of wrestlers, he always made them look good. He always give everything in that ring.
Just again picking up limited wrestlers when he had the US title. Orlando Jordan, A-Train. These guys were really, really bad wrestlers.
Lower than mid-card.
I mean, okay, he beat Orlando Jordan so many times on the run, but in the end, Jordan won the belt. You know,
it gave Jordan that rub, didn't it?
It gave him a bit of credibility. Okay, it didn't really take him anywhere, but any time you get a win over Benoit, the main one for me that I think he put over to the moon was MVP.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I was going to mention MVP because I think he had the feud of MVP on SmackDown, and then it's at the time ECW had one upper mid card, lower upper card wrestler. And I think just before Benoit was Matt Hardy, where Matt Hardy had to come back because they had Matt Hardy in a feud with, I think, his brother, and so they needed a bigger name to replace him. So that's why I think Benoit just drew the short straw, so to speak, and had to go in. And it might have been a 6-month run, but he drew the short straw. ECW for a bit.
I wouldn't see this drawing the short straw. I could imagine Vince or whoever made the final decision, going up to him and going, "Look, Chris,
we need
ECW's a bit shit, mate." Maybe not in them exact words, but we want you to. We want you to go to ECW, sort of bring it back to something resembling what ECW should be.
For Benoit and Heyman's working relationship, it actually went full circle by 12 years. Benoit was actually slated to win the ECW title back in the original, when ECW was good. But Benoit failed to get US work visa issues resolved in time. So, hence the delay, hence Heyman having to reluctantly terminate his contract at the time because he couldn't get work back. However, then WCW snapped him up second time around and he went on from there. So I think the move to ECW was unfinished business for both Chris Benoit and Paul Heyman. I think a lot of it was to do with Heyman thinking Benoit was my go-to guy. So again, we talk a lot about credibility, and he gave a flagging US title credibility in 04 and 05. I know a lot of people regard the Best of 7 series with Booker T as inferior, but a lot of people haven't watched the Best of 7 in WCW. If you sit...
The Best of 7 in WWE it wasn't bad.
It's not,
no.
But then
it's just not a patch.
But if you sit it next to the WCW,
exactly.
That's the thing. And I think Benoit would have given the ECW title a lot of credibility. Where he would have gone from there, to be honest, I think he would have held it through to the February. And to be honest with you, I believe a year or two down the line, or maybe that following year, Benoit would have been more a credible opponent for The Undertaker, and probably the first in a line where you think, hang on, here's a guy who can take the streak.
Well, that's it. Who did he fight in 2007? 2008 it would have been, wouldn't it?
2008 he didn't. Well, obviously.
No, I mean,
Taker. Taker can't.
Wasn't Mark Henry or Kane, was it?
It might have been Kane,
There was a run where it was
2009 was
Kane,
Shawn, 2010 was Shawn, 2011 was Triple H.
Yeah.
So it could well have been Kane.
Yeah, I think
to be honest with you, it probably makes sense.
Yeah.
Which name?
What Mania was it then? What that year?
Would have been
2008.
23? 24?
No, probably 25.
Yeah.
I think it was about...
I'm sure 25 was Mark Henry.
25 was Shawn Michaels.
25 and 26 was Shawn Michaels, 27 was...
24, it might have been Mark Henry.
Yeah.
Or was it Orton?
Do you think, though, he'd have got... If he'd have stayed with ECW, would he have got the shot at Taker, or would he have needed to be drafted over to SmackDown and Raw to again build
fight
him up
Taker
more?
at Mania, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it makes no
sense. I agree with that, but do you think he would...
I think it would have given
in the eyes of...
the full rub.
Do you think so?
I think they might have done something along the lines what they did with Shawn. He thought not so much in the same storyline as what they did with Shawn, but maybe at the Rumble they had a little altercation. One of them threw the other one out, and then Benoit, more likely Benoit attacking Taker than the other way round. But Benoit getting Taker in one of his matches, causing him a loss, or causing him to lose a title. Whatever Taker was up to at that time. And that's how it starts, because like I said, with Taker, it doesn't matter what brand his opponent's on.
It doesn't make a difference.
But yeah, I think we can all agree that he would have been a very viable opponent for Taker. Again, I personally don't think he would have broke the streak.
No.
But he would have been one of those where
closest.
He'd have had Taker in the crossface for a while.
Yeah.
And then Taker maybe would have turned it into this triangle.
It's just back to credibility again, as the word that keeps coming up all the time. Definitely, because it just would have been, I've elevated this title. I am the best in the world. Prove me wrong, as you always used to say. You know what I mean? So
he did, didn't he?
It's just, it wasn't about the promos. He's just the type of person who comes out and goes, I want to fight you, and I think I can beat you.
Because that's the thing about him. He wasn't great on the mic.
No.
He got literally straight to the point, and that was it.
Yeah.
He wouldn't be sitting there making all these great scenarios up.
He wasn't very gimmicky, was he?
No, he wasn't a gimmick. He was himself. He likely said he'd just come out and go, do you know what, you've pissed me off, I want to fight you, let's do it.
Fair enough. I think at that time it might have been they might have kept him away from. I think a couple of years earlier when he had his title win and when he was having, when he had the, I think he was at his peak when he had like the 2 out of 3 falls match of Angle. And I think around about that time he would have been credible for takeover. I think at that stage it might have been.
Do you think he may have been a bit too past it?
Not past. I just think he wasn't as high up on the card as he was like a couple of years before. Certainly when he was in the triple threat.
Don't forget though, he's going on that rocky run of winning coming into the ECW and ploughing through everyone. So he would have made that title be considered a legitimate world title, I think, rather than just the black and silver piece of crap title.
A more legitimate title.
Yeah.
I think the ECW that he was in was a very poor, watered down version of the original. We all know that.
It got worse after that.
It did, yeah. But he would have, in my opinion, made that title worthy of more mainstream. It would have come over. It would have come over to SmackDown. Probably not Raw, but it would have come over to SmackDown more. And I think ECW needed that at that time.
What do you think his longevity would have been in ECW then? Would he have had a shelf life, as in he can only carry it so far?
I'd say about 6 months tops. I couldn't see him. I couldn't see him on that show for more than that.
Yeah,
that's a stretch as well.
That would be enough to raise it and then to keep
it building himself. It could have been to the next draft if they'd have had him like every now and again on Raw. Once a fortnight he was on Raw.
Free agent type without being a free agent.
Yeah.
Kind of like he was
been more type situation.
At the top, like Dad's Mark Henry when he was on ECW, I'm sure he was on SmackDown every other week. And so it might have kept ECW may have been his brand, but he may have been on the shows and pay-per-views.
Especially if he had started feuding with someone. I mean, that's it. He could have been feuding with someone on SmackDown and got involved in a match with them and Taker. It's all what ifs. Obviously, this
I think he went a bit into Brandery that year, so he may have been feuding with someone on Raw, someone on SmackDown.
Well, that's it. You had Taker and Flair coming over to ECW. I think that would have been a blinding idea to have the ECW champion turning up on Raw and SmackDown going, I want to fight you. Yeah, I want to fight you. And
I'm a champion, you're a champion, what's the difference?
Or even that going, might never get a shot at the championship title here. And, I mean, I remember.
Well, they had the whole Night of Champions pay-per-view as well. Didn't they have the 3-way, all 3 heavyweight championships in the one match?
He could have had a 6-month feud with Chavo Guerrero because I think he was on ECW at that time, and that could have.
That would have been epic, but I think they blew the whole feud, and obviously it would have been linked with Eddie. And they done that with Rey Mysterio and Chavo, so. To put Chavo in with Benoit so soon after Eddie probably wouldn't have been the best idea. However,
I think what a lot of people would have worried about then is you're giving Eddie Guerrero overkill then. Yeah. I mean, as great as Eddie was, there had to be enough time, do enough time, and then that's it, it's done and dusted.
Yeah. I think that, Chavo and Benoit would have been a great feud. It would have been an excellent feud, but I don't think it would have been right for it to have happened, especially not at that time. Yeah, but
can any of us see Benoit getting pinned in 9 seconds by Kane at Mania?
No,
no, not a chance.
But could I also say the other thing was he could have gone to ECW, thrown his toys out the pram, been future endeavoured, and ended up on TNA. It could have gone.
That's a damn fine point, but the type of wrestler, personality, and persona he was, he would never.
That's it. You never.
I see your point.
Not so much that I don't think it would have been a case that he would never have gone there, but I don't think it would have went down like that way. He was saying. Yeah. You never read anything about him throwing his toys out the pram. He never refused a job to anybody. He was happy to put.
Did he win the WCW belt?
No.
No, he won it, didn't he, and was leaving.
He won it and handed it back. That's a measure of the man. Yeah. He could have turned up. I mean, Vince must have been on the phone to him going, put it in your bag.
Turn up with it.
Turn up with it, please. Because at the time, when he got the 4 of them over, in 99, 2000, when the Radicals came over, Benoit would have been going over as the WCW champion. Could you imagine? That would have finished WCW in the money completely.
Yeah. Weren't Benoit due to win the title a few months before he actually won it? Something, I don't know whether he got injured or I can't remember. I'm saying he was meant to win it before he actually won it, and he said we want to put the title on you, here's a contract. He went, we'll put the title on you, I'm not staying though.
Well, they pulled it from the records, didn't they? Because when he won the actual title getting 20, that was his legitimate first title win because he just scrubbed it. I think he beat Sid for the title in WCW, and they were just like, he's gone, he didn't win it. And then there was a possible tournament, I think.
Because he was talking about the radicals now, we've gone into that.
Yeah.
He sort of, at the time, so I remember it quite clear because I was watching SmackDown Raw at the time, and I weren't really watching WCW. I was thinking, I kind of recognise one of these, maybe two. So they're all at the front, weren't they, wearing casual clothes?
Yeah.
I mean, I just remember seeing, I think they had to win two of their three matches. They had to win
that wasn't how it started.
To clarify,
Eddie Guerrero broke his arm, didn't he, doing the frog splash? So they had to lose their matches. Yeah. They were slated to win that and be a face stable. Eddie Guerrero broke his arm doing the frog splash, so obviously they had to call an audible on the match and end it quickly, and that cost them the 2 out of 3.
No, Benoit was the third match. Benoit Triple H.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think they were already 2 down. I think they had to change.
With Eddie's arm break, they called an audible and called the switch from face to heel on the same night. So
they had to stay away. They couldn't get a job, and then didn't they join Mick Foley and then attack him?
Yeah. Before they fought any matches, Mick Foley was like, "Oh, so good to see you." And then at the end, I think one of them put their arm around him, and they were just all beating the crap out of him.
To clarify what you were saying, the point about what happened, Benoit did win the belt at Sold Out 2000. Of Sid Vicious, but then Kevin Sullivan was made head booker. So that was the fact. That was
misses or something.
And obviously the rumour was going on at the time. Kevin Sullivan was sleeping with Nancy Benoit, and so that was the final straw for Chris. And he basically turned around to Eddie, Dean, and Perry and went, "I'm going, you coming with me?" And the four of them went, "You go, we go." And Kevin Sullivan basically didn't believe it. And it was like, yeah, right, where the 4 of you is going to go, and lo and behold, they turn up on WWE. But again, a measure of the guy he was. Vince must have been on the phone every hour.
I'll give you X amount of dollars.
I will give you all a bonus. I will send WWE 1 to you.
Yeah.
WWF 1. The jet will be waiting for you in Atlanta, in Vegas, wherever that show is. Get on that flight on the Monday after night show and bring me the belt. And I think that would have ended the month. Benoit could have. If he hadn't been honourable, Chris Benoit could have single-handedly ended the Monday Night Wars, walking out there with the world title.
You can just imagine it on Raw.
Yeah. If that goes in the trash, as you say, they go out of business within a month.
His music hitting and coming out with the belt in the air.
It's the same. I mean, it's like going off again as usual, but it's the same way. It's like, no matter how much of a hitman mark I am, I understand why they took the belt off him, because he shows up on Nitro with that belt and WCW in the Monday Night War.
Yeah.
I truly believe that. So the big belt would have made a huge statement. Totally agree with that.
Well, going back onto topic. Going back from ECW, making it credible after, say, a 6-7 month stint, and moving over to Raw and SmackDown. What's he going to do then? Is he going to go build his way up through Intercontinental or US titles, or is he straight for the big ones?
I think he's bigger than that by then.
Yeah, I think he's the type of guy who just slot into any type of feud, whether it was for the mid-card titles or just in between the top level and the Intercontinental, or even, at the time the tag division was still viable.
Yeah.
He could have tagged up with anyone.
He did for a bit, didn't he? He tagged it out for a bit of Jericho.
Yeah.
I think getting onto whether he would have held the title, I wouldn't have minded seeing him with the Intercontinental if he come over. I know going from a world title to the Intercontinental could be considered a backward step, but it would have been the ECW world title, which he would have bettered it.
Yeah.
But you still wouldn't say the ECW world title was the same as the world heavyweight.
Definitely not. Put it on a par as
it is more like it's more like an Intercontinental champion, especially with the watered down ECW.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't have minded seeing him with the ECW belt. The IC belt. Yeah, that would have been quite good. And then obviously he defends that a few times, and then goes for the big one.
With the wrestlers that have sort of came into it more around that period, Do you reckon there's anyone he could have give the rub to and made bigger either sooner or before he lost out?
You have to say Punk.
Punk. Definitely Punk.
Yeah.
Without a doubt, it would have been. I'm not saying the only one, but Punk would have been right at the top of that list.
I'm going to go with Edge on that one. I think Edge would have got the rub 12 months earlier than he did.
Mm. Yeah, if again, saying it again, he could make anyone look better than what they are. His style was so adaptable. He never had a bad match. So you go in with him, and you're not quite ready. He will push you to be ready.
Yeah.
He wouldn't have you having a bad match with him.
Yeah.
He will slap you across your chest.
Yeah.
Until you started doing things the way he sees it should have been.
It's too much pride in his work.
Yeah.
Whether, as I say again, whether he was top of the card or bottom, he's putting minimal freestyle matches on with anyone he gets in the ring.
Minimum, yeah, definitely. His matches were more 4-star.
Oh yeah,
than anyone's. You've seen him wrestle some of the most untalented people, or restricted people, and make them look $1 million. And that's how good he was.
Mm-hmm. You watch back to the archives, and I think you do watch them, and you appreciate more.
Oh, definitely.
How good he was when you watch, especially the WCW years when WCW wasn't getting ruined by Russo's ego. And,
He did it. He was just epic. I think he was not so much a go-to guy in regards to the way Triple H is or the way John Cena is, but if you were wanting to feud someone who was up and coming, he'd be the man to put them in with.
To use a footy analogy, he was a fucking top utility player.
Yeah. He was Mr. Dependable.
Definitely.
I think if you're going through, we're going from 07, I reckon he probably was. He's the type of guy who would have walked away into the sunset happy enough. He wouldn't be in his 40s, 50s wrestling. And I think Vince would have seen that in him. So I've gone. To be honest with you, I mean, the last contract he signed I think it was a 6-year one or something. I think he'd have seen that out and gone, do you know what? I've still got my health.
Yeah, maybe from a road agent or...
Yeah, road agents. And
I think he had a mind. He could have been a booker or anything.
I think what he would have been is your holding champion for those last few years. Whenever there was a bit of a lull, he was your safe, dependable guy.
For a couple of months.
We're going to stick the belt on Benoit for a couple of months till we know so-and-so's ready, Punk's ready, Edge is ready, Cena's ready, Trips is ready for another run. I think... To be honest with you, those series of matches Shawn and Hunter would have had, I don't think Shawn and Benoit would have been out of place having those.
Not at all.
I
think as well that Randy Orton would have been another one who would have benefited greatly from Benoit still being around.
Especially Benoit's attitude. Benoit's
even like
Orton's attitude.
Even now, Cody Rhodes. I mean,
I can see Benoit actually is that kind of manager. What Vicky Guerrero is now.
Yeah.
I don't think he would have pulled off the excuse me quite as well as Vicky.
Yeah. But no, she was more vocal manager. You could have seen him being this like almost a Fuji type manager, the devious manager. He'd be the one who wouldn't think twice about jumping off the top rope and doing the diving head. But when the ref back turned, he'd be that type of manager. He would get more physically involved. And for the likes of Rhodes, DiBiase, I think. Orton, I think he'd have been the perfect fit as a manager for Legacy.
Took the words out of my mouth.
Yes.
No. Because we were on a roll.
Took them on leaps and bounds. What do you think, though, he would have brought to Raw and SmackDown to elevate them as the two main shows if he'd have been drafted back over? What more could he have done for them that they didn't already have?
Taking one stage further, he could have said, I've found my replacement, my next person who can do the submissions better than I can, and just brought Daniel Bryan in 12 months earlier.
Good shot.
Because it's like a similar build, similar ability.
And he's
almost
a
the
small,
same finishing move as well.
Yeah. He's a small, both of them are small blokes as well, which...
Yeah. I mean, going back to Joe's question there, I'll answer that in 2 words. Chris Benoit.
Yeah. You don't even have to explain.
The moment, the music we use at the start of this, the moment that first riff kicks in, you know who's coming through the curtain, you know what you're getting. Yeah. And you know whether you watch half a dozen crap matches on the card that night, all of a sudden you're 30, 40, 50 quid you pay for your ticket.
It's worth it.
Because you hear that riff and he comes
Definitely.
out.
That's what I mean. He was a heel. Sorry, he was a face for a lot of the time he was in WWE, but he never changed. Do you know what I mean? He didn't used to smile very often. He'd scowl more than anything else. You know, you very rarely... He'd walk straight down the middle.
Yeah.
It's very rare that he'd be high-fiving with fans or hugging fans or anything like that. He might do it after he's won, but coming down to the ring, he was so focused on what he was going to be doing and whose arse he was going to kick.
Yeah.
That, you know, he made you believe that he actually hated the people he was fighting.
I think they could have done that. Just like maybe, I mean, Chris Benoit, just saying his name is what he could have done, but whoever was like GMs at the time, was it Bischoff possibly around
Bischoff at Raw.
I think he could have been
and Teddy Long.
I think he could have been Bischoff's hired gun. When Bischoff had the problem, he'd go, Chris needs to take this guy out. Take this guy out, take this guy out.
Yeah.
And,
he had no friends really.
No,
I mean, I know the whole him and Eddie when they both won the titles and they were hugging and crying in the ring. That was a bit.
It's more kayfabe that one. No, it's more they were friends in real life.
Yeah, that's what I mean. They were the story. It was like a rival story. They were mates. But they wouldn't mind beating the shit out of each other to get where each one needed to be. But yeah, the hired gun thing would have been excellent because he didn't really have any friends, even his tag team partners. You know, he ended up fighting with.
I'd have liked to have seen Benoit Guerrero title for title.
Yeah.
That would have been excellent.
That'd been awesome, yeah.
That would have been a 6.
To be honest with you, I'd have liked to have seen that as a best of 5 or best of 7.
Yeah.
You're not going to get two better players, two better wrestlers.
Straight up Iron Man match, maybe, or
for 60 minutes. You just say Benoit Guerrero.
One of them's going to be an Iron match. One of them best of 7.
Yeah.
I just think what happened ruined. Obviously,
I was just about to lead on to what you're going to say.
Yeah, a lot of them. It ruined what could have been an epic few years in the WWE.
I mean, before we get to that, we've got to go around the room. Chris Benoit, Hall of Fame.
Hell yes.
Yeah, that was the next point. These twilight years, raising ECW, becoming another multi-time world champion. To be fair, before this point, arguably a good shoe-in for Hall of Fame. Never mind what he could have done.
I don't think it's even in question. I think when they went to Atlanta, he would have been in at that point.
Yeah.
Can I?
Say what you
I
want.
think he would be in. The day you know he would be in would be when Chris Jericho goes in, because you just know that they come from a similar start, similar type careers. They probably would have thrown them in together.
Yeah.
So I think, and they've had similar title runs,
Yeah.
very similar careers.
Yeah.
I believe he would have been in
ECW.
before. Yeah, I believe he would have been in before Jericho, just because he is that little bit older. We are talking the last.
I like Rich's idea though, sticking them in together.
Because they started out a tag team members.
I mean, again, and if nothing else, one of the more iconic features you'd have used in that Hall of Fame video is that move on top of the ladder.
That was
Benoit Jericho,
Yes.
where Benoit's was it Jericho bent double or Benoit bent double?
Jericho was leaning back.
Jericho was like an inverted
Benoit was
walls,
like halfway down.
Yeah, it was like an inverted walls at the top of the ladder. There's your Hall of Fame highlights.
Hell yeah.
I mean, I can see where you're coming from, but I can also see Rich's argument.
Oh, no,
There's arguments of them going in
separate.
They're going in separate years, but going in together, getting inducted at the exact same time.
Yeah.
Having Dean Malenko, Perry Saturn
Inducting them in.
Unfortunately, Eddie's not there to do it, but having Chavo, Vicky also there helping induct him. Yeah. But I think
five resounding yeses.
all agree.
But to be honest with you, I think
Jericho gets inducted.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, I think the 5 of us are all marching steadfastly towards the big elephant that's in the room.
To the reason why.
Can I just bring up something what we haven't talked about?
You were avoiding the elephant for now.
Yeah,
go on. Over 1 second.
Postponing it. Stay out there, Nelly.
Stay there.
We've used the crossface on TV a few times
Loads.
now.
Yes.
Shawn Michaels.
Bobby Roode.
Know what my favourite move was the back flips thing.
The suplexes.
And Eddie Guerrero done them.
Yeah.
And I think when Eddie died, Benoit done them, and no one's done them since. I think that's
Well,
the one.
Chavo had them for a while. The Three Amigos, I think he called it.
I think you're talking the suplex.
You're talking belly to back.
Angle does them, but Angle can't do 10 in a row.
You can see Daniel Bryan doing them again.
Yeah.
It's going to have to be someone who's technically sound, isn't it?
That's it.
Let's be honest. When Benoit it's Stone Cold with those 10.
Oh yeah.
After being told you're not going to take one Stone Cold, Stone Cold, this is it. Stone Cold trusted a man with his
life,
buggered up neck,
life, career, everything.
You know,
one of those 10 go wrong.
10.
Yeah.
And they're not easy moves to do.
Oh God, no. I actually watched the match earlier today, and like Taz is on commentary going, this could be a stoppage due to multiple Germans.
Yeah.
Because the ref's like looking at him, and Austin, fair play to Austin, he's selling it like a ragdoll.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And he's proper, like, looks like he's sandbagging him.
Don't forget,
but
exactly.
if you watch at the same time, Austin looks at the referee each one and goes, one more. He does give that nod.
The wrestler getting suplexed is putting just as much effort in as the fella who's suplexing him. And, you know, both of them need a good, you know.
Agree.
Yeah. When you see that move, you just think, I'd like to see someone give that a go now.
Yeah,
I think, like you said, over the 4 years, 4.5 years since it happened, it is sneaking. His moves are sneaking back in. You know, I can't see personally his name ever being mentioned.
It will never be acceptable.
WWE TV again.
Yeah.
And obviously, you know, you buy pay-per-views and stuff. He's not on them. You know, if you buy pay-per-views that are around just on the time, it doesn't even say his name on the back.
I was surprised that when we've got all our stuff and we've gone over it. It's amazing how they've just cut them out.
Yeah, it's. I mean,
did they just cut the match out?
Yeah. Everything.
No,
nothing.
Well, we had a title match.
No.
Not a mention, not a name, nothing. Out completely.
It's completely gone.
The only ones that you can't add some out of is the likes of the Rumble and that.
Rumble on
part. You can't just put like, you know, a shadow of this geezer like doing
no. If I buy that WrestleMania now, that match is not there.
You probably, if you bought that
the match is on the DVD,
but he's not mentioned.
But the card on the back of the card, the WWE title match is not mentioned. The most telling one for me is if you watch Randy Orton's Evolution of a Predator. Now, everyone says your first title win is your best one, it's your most memorable. I do feel sorry for Randy Orton because his first title run has been erased from the history books. It's on the Evolution of a Predator documentary, and they've blurred his name off the belt. They use, when Orton's up on the ramp, there's no sign of Benoit in the ring. They use wide shots of him holding the belt up. It's a wide shot when he's on the ramp holding the belt up in the air. The one close shot they've got, there's no nameplate on the belt. The nameplate's being airbrushed off the belt. Yeah. And he's not allowed to acknowledge who he beat.
I totally disagree with that, I have to say. I do. I think just go dead air on the commentary and let people enjoy the match, because we've all seen it. We know who we beat for the first one. Yeah. You don't have to say, like, you know, Chris Benoit is the best champion, look who Orton's just beat.
Yeah, just
dead air and let people watch the match, because that's bullshit for Orton and anyone else who faced them.
Yeah.
I think we should get on to the topic of then the reason for all of this censorship.
Right.
The reason why he's not in the Hall of Fame. The reason why he'll never be mentioned.
That's it. Going through the record books, going back to June 24th, 2007. It transpires, in case you guys aren't sure or need recapping on this, Shawn Michaels, Chavo Guerrero and a couple of other wrestlers received text the day of the Vengeance pay-per-view off Chris Benoit, who was uncontactable. He hadn't made his flight, he hadn't made his connecting flight, he hadn't made his pick up at the airport.
Did he even reschedule for him to fly in on the day of the pay-per-view as well?
Yeah. He left messages on... Now, he didn't talk to Shawn Michaels as a friend, so the fact he texted Shawn made it all the more confusing. The text messages basically said, my address is, the back gate's open, the dogs are contained, or words to that effect. He sent that text message to Shawn Michaels 3 times. He sent it to Chavo 3 or 4 times and a few other people. He phoned Stamford, WWE headquarters, on the Friday to say that Daniel and Nancy were vomiting blood due to food poisoning. He rescheduled his flight to the Saturday. He did the same thing. He said, I won't be able to make it. I will make the show. Can you reschedule my flight so I can fly in, do the show and fly home? Mm-hmm. WWE travel sorted it all out for him. Again, he never made those flights. It then transpired overnight on the Sunday. Just to fill in, John Morrison, who was Johnny Nitro at the time, covered the match in Benoit's place and subsequently won the ECW title that night off Punk. No one's none the wiser at this point. The following night on Monday Night Raw...
Sorry, can I just throw something? WWE, Vince, not Vince personally, but Vince had people actually phone the police. Yeah. Vince's words as well, he says it, you can YouTube any of the videos, it comes up and Vince says, because of the nature of the messages we had, and because he said he was 100% a consummate professional. He never missed shows, he was never late. He was always there a couple of hours before. He never missed any sort of event for WWE. And he said when we started getting these messages and he'd phoned up and asked for a flight to be rebooked and everything, and then didn't turn up, we phoned the local authorities and got someone to go over. And that was, they went after the show, I believe, after the Vengeance show. Yeah. So late on the Sunday, they went over on the Monday. Yeah. I believe, because
it's like early hours Monday morning.
Yeah, because it was after Raw.
I think Raw. No. They knew on the Raw.
Yeah, it was before.
They knew on the Raw because what happened was.
They knew he died on the Raw.
They knew all three were dead.
Yeah,
because when Raw opened on the Monday morning, on the Tuesday morning in the UK, the Monday night, Vince has stood in the ring in an empty arena. It's never happened before that a show's been cancelled like that, and Vince has stood in the ring. And he says that there's been an incident involving Chris, Nancy and Daniel Benoit, and all three have passed away. And they ran more than a standard tribute show. Normally they do the bell tolling 10 times. If anyone wants to wrestle, they can. They do the video packages where if anyone wants to speak, they can do. But given the nature, Vince... Now, I want to say, if anyone else wants to disagree, that's absolutely fine. I don't condone WWE for how they ran that show, because they ran that show based on the facts they knew at the time.
Yeah, they were blind.
Yes, they were totally blind. Now, I know WWE have had a lot of criticism about doing that, but they didn't know it was a double murder suicide.
None of us did. No. I was on the phone. I was texting you. Very rarely I'll put my hands up. I don't usually stay up to watch Raw live. I usually just watch it the next day. But for some reason I was up late and this happened and I sent Anthony a few texts. I sent my mate Tom a few texts going, what the fuck? And this is where I'm going to get pretty fucking pissed off on this fucking podcast. I was close to tears. I don't mind admitting it.
Oh, no shame.
I thought one of my favourite wrestlers had been killed. It was a car crash. And then when it transpired that it was wife and kid as well, and I'm sitting there with my family. My family. Anthony's a family man. You know what I mean? It's like, it was unreal. And then slowly but surely, at the time, WrestleView.com was my favourite forum.
Yeah, it was Roger.
And it was starting to come out. This doesn't sound right. This doesn't sound right.
There's rumours.
I went on the forum, which is again something I don't normally do. A big, kind of like a eulogy forum. And then it come out, and I was fucking livid. Got that he was so fucking selfish.
Yeah.
Selfish. And just for me, and it was selfish on my behalf because I was pissed off that my emotions were played with.
You don't know these people. No, you're going on his character, and we all love Chris Benoit. Like we've said numerous times tonight, his work rate, his ability was second to none. And for the Monday night, we all watched the Raw, and I was upset. Lee just said he was upset. I'm sure everybody else was. And you're watching all these grown men, these legitimately tough guys, sobbing because their mate has been killed.
And then that's it. I mean, you've got Chavo and Ray and
lost the brother, basically.
Yeah, and and it's like God, they're going through it again. And I mean, I've read an interview recently with Jericho, and he said he watched Triple H's promo the other week, when Triple H is saying how he's got such good friends in the business, Sean Waltman. All right, we know about Scott Hall's demons, but Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, Shawn Michaels, and Jericho said he went, I've buried most of mine.
Yeah,
that's a
Jericho's probably only got
Jericho,
Lance Storm, Rey Mysterio,
and Chavo left.
Yeah,
and he's like, Well, I've buried Ray. I've buried Chris. I've buried Owen.
Buried Eddie.
Buried Eddie. You know.
Ray who?
He said Ray instead of Eddie.
Okay.
So yeah, you know. Do you know what I mean?
I come from it from a different way because I like Lee. I don't normally watch Raw until the Tuesday night or the Wednesday night or whatever, and I knew about the double murder suicide before I had a chance to watch Raw, so I just saw the first bit of events, deleted it, and then went straight on to ECW, where I think he come out and said, "You'll never hear." Was it ECW when he said, "You'll never hear his name"?
On the Today Show or something, wasn't it? Because I watched that a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
He got slated as well on the Today Show a few times by some woman, and she was going, "You must have known it, and you must have done this, and your company." And he's just like, "We didn't know. Do you think we'd honestly do a
half-felt?"
It's like bringing it back to real life. I mean, obviously, I'm sure that's not going to happen, but one of us guys, imagine if us got text messages saying, you know, Stocko's topped himself and the bird and he was living with and they had the kid together, we'd all be devastated. You know, if we just found out he was dead, you know, not talking about you dying, Mick, but you know, like, we just get a text message, Mick's dead. We're all in tears, we're all fucking planning the fucking funeral. Then it comes out that he's killed someone else and someone else. That just flips your whole fucking ideal that you had of the guy. Sorry to use you.
No, it's fine.
Analogy, but that was what I was thinking, and it was just I was glad I watched it in the timeline that I watched it in the context.
Of course.
You were naive to the situation.
Yeah, whereas if I would have watched it in Dicky's situation, well, I probably would have watched it.
I don't think I would have watched it.
I wouldn't have watched it.
I pretty much went straight to the Vince. I'm not sending a limo. No, I think he'd done that on the Raw one.
You know what? To be honest with you, Vince was in a no-win situation. And
Vince, I thought, as I say, got unfairly slated.
But then again, we were saying in the first half of this when we were fantasy booking Benoit, you know, he was this and he was that and how good he was. And yet now, if you want to say two words that will champion the cause of roid rage or chair shots to the head and wrestling should be man-managed and unionised and all that. We said about what would Chris Benoit bring to Raw or SmackDown. His name's Chris Benoit. What does Chris Benoit now bring to the anti-wrestling brigade? His name.
Yeah.
The same two words now, and you've got, you know, them all banging the door, and they did. And by God, they were closer to shutting wrestling down than Eric Bischoff ever got.
Yeah.
I think, you know, don't forget, I mean, you know, Benoit did take a lot of hits to the head with chairs. He used to fling himself off the top ropes and off cages.
But he knew what he was doing.
Yeah. He knew. No, of course he did. And again, we're not condoning it in any way. But that's got to have paid.
Well, you know, he
hasn't woke up on that Saturday morning and gone, do you know what? I think I'll kill my wife and kid today.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing we were going to say. He killed Nancy on the Friday, Daniel on the Saturday. So what I'm trying to think as a father of three girls, if I'd have done that to my wife on the Friday, no matter how fried my head is, how the hell would I have functioned normally from Friday to Saturday? And then obviously something's that wire is finally sparked in his head on the Sunday. He'll have gone round the house and gone, "Where's Nancy? Shit.
Yeah.
Where's that? Shit. What have I done?
I'm screwed here.
I'm screwed." And then he went and took
his own life.
No, I think, you know, obviously, as much as we all loved watching people get caned across the head with chairs on a regular basis and stuff, and I don't mean that in a funny way at all.
No,
It was a big part of the attitude era of wrestling, you know, and you used to love it. You'd see someone come in and someone just swing unmercifully at the skull, and the noise, and, you know, it was brilliant. But that's fucked him up.
Yeah, you look back and cringe now.
Yeah.
You know, the prime example is when the Rock's wailing on
Foley, yeah.
There was a ridiculous amount of
18,
unprotected
something like that.
You know, and now
he's
it's
handcuffed as well.
Yeah.
Handcuffed.
Do you watch it on the Beyond the Mat documentary with his wife and kids are on the front row crying their eyes out?
Yeah. you know, they know that's going to happen, although they didn't know he was going to do 18 of them.
No.
But surely you wouldn't want your wife and kid watching that.
No.
You know, your match is about to start, bugger off outside.
Surely for your own sanity, your own career, your own life, your own health, nobody needs to do that.
No.
They didn't need to do it. Well, you saw, you know,
18
he just got
times,
a on Monday and had an impact.
I mean, to be fair, like, dragging it back to Chris, no one knew backstage.
No.
No one had a clue. You know, you hear everyone saying, I don't get it, because he doted on Daniel. And we knew him and Nancy were having problems, but he doted on Daniel. He brought him to the shows. He stuck with him right until his match. Daniel stood in the gorilla position, you know, and he was the first person he went to after the match. You know, he absolutely adored his son. He idolised his son. There was no hint of any of this.
Yeah.
He kept stuff very private. He just spoke to a couple of people, and, you know, Chris Jericho knew he had marriage problems, but that was it. There was nothing. There was nothing to hint.
Yeah, there was no.
You get that in quote unquote real life though.
Yeah.
When Joe Schmo flips, you know, you'll have Mr. Smith living with his wife and 2 kids.
Yeah.
And he drives them to Dover and sticks, you know, you hear of it. I can't believe he would do that because he was such a nice guy. And, you know, Benoit was he seemed to be a very private person, apart from a couple of people. And because he was so private and so quiet, he wasn't like someone who, as people have said already, he wouldn't flare up, didn't, you know, dummies out there.
Yeah, toys out the
pram and all the rest of it. He didn't talking to the sheets or doing any shoot interviews. You wouldn't know what was going on.
It makes
whether it was good or bad. You probably couldn't tell the difference.
Yeah. It makes what he did all the more shocking.
Yeah.
And again, back to the disclaimer at the start. Don't get me wrong. You're not listening to 5 people here who condone. You're listening to 5 people here who betrayed.
Yeah.
As wrestling fans, you know, God Almighty. I'm not trying to say we're like the Benoit family or, you know, Nancy's family or anything like that. God Almighty, we're not going that, you know, sackcloth and ashes over this. But as wrestling fans, we were betrayed by what he did, and those last 3 days have destroyed everything we've discussed tonight.
15, 20 year career.
Yeah.
They have destroyed his legacy.
Plus the branches of other people's career as well.
Yes, to be honest with you,
it's not just affected him, and it's affected the wrestling industry. The world.
It's had to change.
Yeah.
It's had to change.
I mean, it has.
There's only like the wellness policy that's come out of his death.
Yeah,
kind of. That's the
well,
only
in a roundabout way. That's why they've done it.
But it's
because
not a roundabout way. It's totally straight down the middle way.
People have said, you know, there was loads of steroids found in his house, loads of prescription drugs. So, you know, they've been blamed for his mindset.
Yeah.
You know, whether that is the cause of his mindset or not, who knows? Like these were saying, he was very private. He could have been thinking this for ages. You know, it wasn't something he just woke up and decided to do. But it has changed the face. You've got people now, they can't even smoke a joint, or they're banned for 30 days, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Rob Van Dam lost both his world titles, got squashed for a good couple of months.
Yeah.
Because he fancied having a joint driving down the road. That would never have happened 5 years ago. He would have got a $200 fine, bit of a slap on the wrist.
I think what we've got with Benoit, we've got the most high-profile casualty of the Monday Night Wars.
Definitely.
No doubt.
Right, I've got something here. This is off 411, and I'm going to read it in full because this is what, in 3 days, Chris Benoit pissed up the wall. Okay? Chris Benoit was a 2-time world champion, WCW World Heavyweight Champion, and the WWE Heavyweight Champion. He was tied with the WWE for the 3rd longest reign in history. Both world title reigns were represented, obviously, with what the belt we know is the old WCW NWA title. Benoit is one of only 3 men to have held that belt in both companies, along with Bill Goldberg and Booker T. He ties the record of being a 5-time United States champion, twice in WCW, 3 times WWE, the 12th man in history to win the WWE Triple Crown, and the 7th man to do it in WCW, and he was the 2nd of 4 men to do it in both companies.
Behind Jericho, wasn't it?
it doesn't say who the other 3 men are. And along with Shawn Michaels, he's only the second man in the Royal Rumble to win it from number 1. Now, if that wasn't a Hall of Fame career,
I don't know what
thrown away in 72 hours.
To be honest,
thrown
away the moment he killed his wife.
Yeah, but
but completely and utterly shit on. I mean, he kills his wife, doesn't kill his kid, and turns himself in. It's still fucked up, but it's a slightly different story. The fact that the killer, we can't get an answer. No one can ask him why. That's the kicker, because he just rattled off about 20 titles, ridiculous achievements, even without his multiple 5-star matches.
That doesn't rattle Japan off.
Yeah. No, it
didn't he leave messages to people?
You're saying earlier on,
But did he leave messages in his house as well?
No, he left the Bible by all 3 bodies, apparently.
Yeah.
But again,
that's another fucked up thing to do. What a crazy thing to do.
The thing is, though, it's not crazy, because crazy would usually mean off the cuff. He's just decided to do it.
Crazy, it would have all been dead on the Friday.
That through.
Yeah.
He'll have thought that through. He'll have been methodical. To put it bluntly, he would have been like he was in the ring at home when he was doing this shit. He would have been focused on it.
Planned out.
It would have been planned out. Generally, if you're a bit loopy and you're a serial killer, you don't just, decide I'm going to shoot someone. You'll be thinking, it'll be a random person you end up doing it to, but you only have to watch any shows on crazy people. They don't wake up and think, ooh, I'm going to kill someone today.
Yeah.
They're like, I want to kill someone on Tuesday.
The documentary on it as well.
Exactly.
I mean, if you're on like a kind of a rampage, you're killing your wife, your kid, and yourself in the space of minutes or an hour or 2.
Not over 3 days.
And to then have the presence of mind. Again, we're all doing hearsay. Did he kill Nancy and then phone Stanford? Saying I can't make it?
You don't know. He's killed his wife on the
Friday.
Friday.
And then go, I still can't make it.
What's he done with his kid? Has he took his kid out to the park? Has he, was he sat and watched movies with him?
It's just not worth thinking.
But even the thing is, you've got to think. That's why we're doing this, because don't forget, this is the guy now you don't talk about at parties. This is the guy who WWE has had the power to erase from the record books. This guy, I mean, I haven't heard anything like this. I've never known any podcast I've ever listened to sit and do this. That I've heard a million podcasts from different people, different companies, and they start talking to all the wrestlers. And when you get on the subject, Chris Benoit, you're off the subject as quickly as you got on it.
And we're going to be in an hour soon about fully on Benoit.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. There's been 2 nights passed since his wife was killed, and then he killed himself. Did he go to sleep? Do you know what I mean? What did he do? Did he lead his normal life?
Yeah. What has he done?
Yeah.
He had the presence of mind to lock the dogs away so the police could get him without being attacked.
This is why he's not. This is why it wasn't the things of a crazy man.
Yeah, but it's crazy's going to be defined. Crazy's just going to go on that rampage spree and whatever.
Something's not right. Yeah. Something wasn't right.
Yeah, I know what you're saying about methodical, but I will still call him crazed or deranged or a maniac or a schizophrenic or whatever.
Deranged. I'd go with deranged.
But to do that, and as you say, I mean, I doubt he was like watching Disney movies with his kid. But we don't know.
Exactly. That's what I mean.
And then to put the Bibles down, that's kind of like really cold-blooded.
Yeah, that's
to do that, and then.
Well, let's be honest. The most cold-blooded thing he did, rumour has it, is he put his own son in his own finishing move.
Yeah,
that's as cold-blooded as fuck. That's what I mean. What was he doing minutes up to that? Was he pretending to have a little wrestling fight with? You know what I mean? It's a fucked up thing you were talking about here.
The poor kid, and then there's like, they leave.
And his kid has learning difficulties and everything. You know what I mean?
Well, he said that was part, may have been a contributing factor to his mental state as well. That he couldn't have the fact that his kid was, how he
had
was.
learning issues. Yeah,
it is. It's a fucked up scenario all round, but it has to be. It had to be talked about. We couldn't. The original plan for this was not to mention it, but you couldn't. Our thing would have been over half an hour ago, and we haven't done it just to carry it on.
No,
but we felt it did need to be discussed.
Yeah,
and as you can see, that the 5 of us here are disgusted by what happened. Like we said at the beginning, we're not condoning it or anything, but the talent and the career that he wasted in 3 days.
Yeah,
and his family.
Yeah,
it's more important.
Yeah, but we're
talking.
talking about Chris Benoit's career.
Yeah.
You don't have to say that it was terrible on his family because everyone knows it was terrible on his family. We're not here to actually discuss what his family was feeling. We're here to discuss the actual his wrestling career and the absolute unequivocal damage that he's fucking done to it.
Yeah. The title of the podcast was "What If." We've done "What If," and now we've just done what actually happened.
Mm.
I think, to be honest with you, the whole analogy of this is we've done something a lot of people don't do. When we said we were going to go there, we have done.
We've gone there.
It's not patting our own backs by any means, but there's plenty of people in fans and in the industry who flat out haven't got the balls to do this. Yeah, and that's not saying like we're the be all and end all when it comes to this subject.
No,
by any means.
And
I'm sure we'll do other dodgy podcasts or controversial ones in the future.
Yeah.
But I don't think this can be topped in terms of like the taboo of the subject.
I think that is pretty much perfect time to close it. With this more than ever. Joe, if you want to give all the details on my friend about where you can send feedback and please, but this more than ever, please do, because if you don't feeding this back.
Yeah, this is the most taboo subject we've ever touched and possibly might ever touch. If you've got your own view on it, which you will, everyone will have their own opinion and their own view and their own feedback on this. Please send it in to us on an email at 30minutepipebomb@hotmail.co.uk, or you can tweet any of the lads. We'll go around the room and read out your Twitter names.
BIGOBONE13.
Big old bone 13.
Yeah, the one.
Yeah. And McKenna 76.
Mick Stockholm.
At Shanners 007.
Don't follow.
And at Tarpy J. Again, these podcasts will be put up on our Podbean site. They'll go on the YouTube page, and there will be a link on our Facebook page. Please send any feedback that you've got in, guys. Tell us if it was good. Tell us if you agree. Tell us if you disagree.
Tell us if we shouldn't have done it.
If we shouldn't have done it, especially. But we're quite pleased that we've done this. We've talked it over. We've got it out in the open, and like Lee said, we've done something that no one else would have done. We have gone there.